I think it's time to start. So thank you, everybody. We're very happy that you're with us. We actually have people from around the globe. So for those that are celebrating, happy Valentine's Day. If you felt like recently, your go-to-market effort are a bit, challenging, that things are maybe slower than before, that things that you're able to do quickly or easily are now more difficult, then you're in the right place, because we're actually going to speak today about, companies that are losing their go-to-market fit, and speak about things that we might be able to do today. I'll start with a short introduction. We have Jacco, who's the founder of Winning by Design. Thank you, Jacco, for joining us. For those who don't know Jacco, Jacco has been helping probably hundreds of sales organizations and individuals in marketing around the world, really help them with their go-to-market initiatives. Also an author of a couple of books, so highly recommend that you'll take a look at that as well. And Anthony, thanks for joining us as well. Anthony now is the founder and CEO of Audience Plus, who's actually building an operating system for all owned media. And even in his past, Anthony used to be the CMO of Gainsight, Hopping, and Front. And I'm very excited because actually, my past is related to both of them. Jacco really helped us at the beginning of the first days into Tango. And Anthony was I can call you my fierce competitor, right?
That's
Anthony
right.
really has done an amazing job leading the marketing of Gainsight and really helping the customer success industry. And I think, Anthony, you also wrote a book, right? So
Did.
about creating a category, highly recommended. So for me, it's very exciting, again, being from the other side and speaking with you both. A bit about me. At my past, I was the co-founder of Tutango, again, customer success platform, run most of the go-to-market functions there, and now co-founder and leading SalesPeak. Just a bit of housekeeping, very short. Jacco will start and will actually help us understand, why companies are actually losing their go-to-market fit. What does it mean? And some ideas to actually solve that. Anthony and me will actually speak about some maybe innovative and creative ideas and technology that you might use in order to mitigate those things. This webinar is being recorded, and we'll share this later with people that are registered. And feel free to ask Q&A. We'll have some time, hopefully, by the end of the session to answer any question that you have. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and lead it to you, Jacco.
Well, thank you very much for having me. You may have to spotlight me, if not automatically, then just hit my picture and hit spotlight. Folks, what I'm about to share with you, like I've been speaking about for a while, let me put myself in the right corner. There I am. What we see here is that growth rates have gone down. This is the data that is provided by David Spitz from Banksight. David and I have been working and looking at the various ways of the market and to understand what's going on. In this picture, you see that when the market collapsed, end of 2021, and I marked that with DocuSign was one of the first stocks that dropped significantly early December, marking the end of that period. That since then, growth rates actually have only gone further down. We went on an average growth rate from public companies, public SaaS companies, it was measured about 87 public SaaS companies. It went down from 36% to 18%. As Omer said, at Winning by Design, we have access to hundreds and hundreds, close to 1,000 metrics. The private markets mimic this. It may not be from 36 to 18. It may be more from 42 to 21, but the rates that it has dropped at half definitely mimics that. That is not by itself, that by itself is already challenging. Were it not for two other challenges, that next challenge of what we have seen, that the cost of acquisition, when measured the cost of marketing and sales against the net new revenue, we see that has, again, increased from about $1.50 per dollar acquired to $2.64 per dollar acquired. Now, this is net new dollars, so this is primarily marketing and sales efforts on the acquisition side that have risen so high. That in many cases can be explained in the form of we're all fatigued. There's thousands of SaaS companies selling to thousands of SaaS companies and so on and so forth. Last metric I share is that the NRR rate has dropped over the past couple of quarters from 123% to 113%. And with buying behavior skewed towards December and January, and those results still coming in, we believe we have good insight to believe that NRR at the end of fourth quarter 2023 is looking to come in below 110% in the 107, 108 range, meaning that drop is also continuing to be. For those of you familiar with NRR, it means that we measure it from 100%. That means that 23% dropping that to 13% is again about half, that we're soon about half that. So if there's ever a story that says the following, half the growth at double the price with less upside is where we're at, which, you know, like started the conversation between myself and the gentleman here is like, hey, have we lost, is this a signal that we have lost go-to-market fit? That is a provocative statement, doesn't meant to be 100% true, it's just meant to put us into a state of mind that we can start thinking about the solution. Yeah, that's a mic drop, right? That's supposed to be followed by quietness. So that's where you go like, oh crap, as people, this is what we find ourselves in. Omar, Anthony, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think we see it all over. I think, I'm not exposed to specific numbers, but the B2B go-to-market motion is challenged right now. When we speak with companies, we see many A's that don't reach the quotas. We see, SDRs that are leaving. We see companies that are challenges, and really they need to do more with less.
Mhm.
I think that's pretty clear.
Absolutely. You're hitting on something, Jacco, that I think all of us intuitively feel, but maybe haven't seen the numbers to really back up that emotion. And so seeing this is very kind of grounding to say, yes, everything feels harder. It's harder to hit our numbers it seems like resources are more constrained, at least on the marketing end than they used to be. We're not alone. We're not alone in feeling this way. So interesting to see this, the trend data.
Yeah, I've heard from companies that, again, if a year ago or 2 years ago, you could have one SDR that schedules, I don't know, 10 meetings a week, you probably need to have 5 SDRs that are doing this. And there are many reasons for that, but I think it's clear that there is a go-to-market challenge right now.
I think that when we look to the solution, we can look at the things that are working well and say like, hey, there are exceptions in the market, right? Not everybody obeys completely to this. It's a lion's share. And when I mean a lion's share, we're talking about 7 out of 10 companies or something like that. So what are the exceptions? Where do we see things go well, right? And so it can point us into a direction. Now, before I do that, I want to point out this one picture that I brought up, this one, right? Because this is essentially that one, the cost going up is the problem here.
Mm.
And where that comes from is that we're just creating so much noise in the market with email automation, right? With that we have deployed, with so many SaaS companies growing their revenue on the backs of selling to other SaaS companies. So a very incestuous world. So that is what this is. And all of us experience this every day in lots of LinkedIn messages, lots of email messages in our inbox, and spam filters being activated constantly, because I spend at least 5 minutes a day to just click unsubscribe, unsubscribe, block, unsubscribe, right? And then what I believe is I don't know about you, but when I get a highly personalized message nowadays, I'm somewhat like, I don't want that. I don't want people to start a message with, hey, I'm also from a small town, because I'm like, crap, I need to read the entire message, right? It's just more sophisticated spam. And now I got to make sure that I don't spam a friend of mine, right? Like, but I am that super hyper personalized messages does not appeal to me the same way it once did.
Yeah.
That's where that line comes from.
I completely agree and definitely understand, and it's painful. It's actually painful to see from both sides. I'll speak about it in a few minutes, but I think we need to do things differently, and I've done the same. It's not that I haven't done those kinds of things, right? Into Tango, we've done all those kinds of things, but I think we need to do things differently right now.
Yeah. Okay, so how do we do things differently? Because if I'm a listener to this, I go like, crap, yes, I got this. It pains, it hurts. Don't
Right.
push on it. Don't scratch it. Don't like, just ignore it. And how do we fix this?
I got some ideas on the marketing side. I don't know if it makes sense to start there, and Omer, pass it to you. Does that work?
Yeah,
Yeah,
go
yeah,
for it.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, I loved how Jacco, you talked about marketing automation almost as part of the reason we got here, which resonates a lot to me personally. Because I think what a lot of marketers have been doing is executing this playbook that really for the last 2 decades, call it inbound marketing, marketing automation, or whatever, has been the predominant kind of go-to-market for us. And we're starting to see that it's not working, at least in the same way that it used to before. And it's one thing if that's something that I say. It's another thing when John Miller, who's the co-founder of Marketo, is saying the playbook that I helped create no longer works. So very powerful statement here to really, I think, put a lot of to help validate, I think, that claim that email marketing in its traditional context, personalization of LinkedIn outreach, these things are just not bearing the fruit that they used to. So let's talk about what changed, and then to your point, Jacco, talk about a proposed kind of alternative for how we can, at least on the marketing front, really start to navigate around these different trade winds. So the first thing is that the attention of our buyer audience is so scarce and arguably, being competed over by the thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of SaaS businesses that are selling to that same kind of audience. And so when we think about how our audience is actually consuming content today or learning from different brands, they're maybe attending kind of live events like this one. They might see short form video clips in their LinkedIn feed or wherever they are. It's a lot less of the sort of, again, personalized outreach in your InMail that, or the, Omer, to your point, the outbound kind of meeting setting kind of practice that had worked before. And so when we think about this from the marketing perspective, where historically are most of our content teams and kind of event teams working on, we're writing performance articles, SEO articles for search, rather than producing a lot of this more editorial type of content that helps us break through the noise and reach people, in the channels that they're used to being kind of marketed to or consuming information today. Second thing is that very much contribute, I think, also to that line is paid media, which at least in the marketing program budget has often been the largest line item that we've spent money on. And of course, when the red pen comes out from finance or FP&A, it's typically paid that takes the first kind of cut from the marketing side. What we're learning too is that this is a channel that is increasingly inefficient under this banner of efficient growth that our CFOs, again, are pushing us towards. And so even companies, I think, that are doing paid really well at scale are starting to see limited efficiencies and gains off that same level of spend as they're kind of committing budget to certain keywords. So paid is becoming less effective. Our relationship with social media is changing. This one's a little fun to pick on, but if you don't believe me, try posting a Substack link on X. We can't do it. TikTok is on the verge of a national ban. LinkedIn's algorithm changes like every week, limiting our reach and our ability to actually reach our audience. And so we're battling into this headwind with these third-party algorithms that are effectively gatekeeping between us and our audience that is willfully following us on these platforms. They clicked the follow or connect button, and yet we still can't get our message deployed to them. And so all of these things, including some legislation coming into effect this year around third-party cookies, are just adding more and more headwind to our ability to actually build mind share with our buyer audience that is out there and potentially, hopefully interested in learning about our products or has a problem, at least, that our products can help solve. So what do we do about that? And I've sort of trying to take kind of a first principles approach was like, what are some models of other industries that faced these similar headwinds from a marketing perspective and have come out stronger on the other side? And my attention was drawn to the consumer media industry, which from a business model perspective, having kind of a difficult season themselves, but from a audience building and acquisition perspective, an interesting kind of metaphor for us to look at. because the way they talk about sort of the funnel, or however you want to describe it, is through this language that we just haven't really used in the B2B context. This idea of rented audience. So channels where we don't have that direct email-based relationship with them, where we're renting access, could be social media, could be content networks like YouTube or Spotify, could be SEO and Google. Owned audience. So now these are folks that are actually opted into our marketable database. They are subscribing to our content, and they're hearing from us and want to hear from us on a regular basis. They come to events just like this one, and they open the newsletters and those types of kind of efforts. And in the consumer media context, all of that activity is generating this first-party data around our audience. And so we're actually starting to understand, at least again on the consumer media side, what topics are interesting to specific cohorts of our audience. And we're able to create content around that and message it to them directly. Or I think for this conversation in particular, who within our audience is showing signal of buying intent that goes beyond them explicitly kind of clicking the contact sales form or the demo request form, but are engaging with content that might kind of lead us to believe there's something kind of compelling here. And so the vision, I think, for how we on the marketing end need to rethink this world is thinking about our own go-to-market in a similar type of construct, where we're using LinkedIn, again, in a different way than just kind of personalized LinkedIn in-mails, but using it to become the authority on our conversation that we're leading in the market, to produce content, to educate our audience, distribute it on those platforms, but more importantly here, start using those channels to build a direct first-party relationship with our audience, to get folks to subscribe to our content. And there's very much a revenue marketing kind of implication here. What we see is on a typical B2B website, a 1% to 2% conversion rate on average. Could be much better or much worse. But when we lead with things like get demo or talk to sales or these kind of commercially oriented CTAs, what we see with companies that have a subscription CTA, not just within our industry, but beyond it, is about a 10% conversion rate as an industry average. So what that's telling us is we're able to convert our audience better in a more effective way of people that may not be ready to buy yet today, when budgets are lower, when resources are not what they used to be, but they're interested in this broader topic. They care, and they are coming to you and your brand to learn and grow and kind of get better at their work. And the idea here being, when they are ready to buy, they're going to think about your company first. And we can use that data in a really interesting way to understand when and how that is. So I'll speed up here really quick, but just as we call this practice owned media. There's probably 100,000 names for it, but the idea of building that direct relationship with our audience and producing content in a meaningful way. This isn't completely revolutionary, but it's sort of rethinking some of the different things we're already doing. So we talk about website conversions has been a topic, obviously, that we've talked about for years, but subscribership has this different connotation around relationship that I think is important, where they might be part of the 95% of your audience that are not ready to buy yet today. But again, they're here and they're paying attention. We're not just producing SEO content anymore. We're producing rich media with videos and podcasts and using short form and all of these more emerging formats that help us pierce through the noise. We're creating exclusive programs just like this one. What is a webinar if not an exclusive broadcast just to our owned audience here? You have to fill out a form, of course, to join a webinar. And so similarly, that tactic continues to be important and excited. And I think at the end of the day, where all this is headed is now our cost to distribute content into our audience, think about this from a paid perspective and from a rented perspective, goes down to zero. Or at least that's the long game here, is our marketable database is a reflection of our TAM and our SAM and the people that we're trying to build that relationship with. So anyways, I'll stop talking here, but this is, I think, we think about owned media not as this brand building exercise. And I think we look to Salesforce Plus and some of these companies with a lot of resource, and we say, they have a 50-person team running a studio internally. That's amazing. One day we'll get there. But I think about it quite differently. This is how we're going to, again, drive growth today in a way that's efficient, in a way that is actually authentic to our audience and really focused on value. How can we help our prospects solve their problems with our products, but also with our content, events, community, our broader thought leadership? And I don't think it's as expensive as we sort of start building those strategies ourselves. So anyway, that's my thought, at least, Omer.
Thanks, and I love the fact, or the statement that every company needs to be, a media company. That's very interesting, and I think it plays to the fact that we have to do things differently. The playbook that we've used before, and each one of us used it.
Yeah.
Isn't yielding the same results, and we need to change it in marketing, in sales, probably in customer success. But let's leave customer success to another discussion as well. I'm assuming I'll always look at you as a marketer. I know you're running a company right now, but you are a marketer. You're probably using your eating your own dog food as well, right? You're doing those things within Audience Plus.
We are, and the topic that just very visually for everyone here is we have a studio set up in our office that we've spent less than $10,000 US to stand up, and now we can produce an unlimited amount of content, without needing to engage with a number of different agencies, do a lot of hiring. I walked into this room, I plugged one thing in, and so yeah, we're trying to walk the walk ourselves, but also do it in a way that seed stage startup could afford to be building their audience as well.
That's great. I love the fact, again, doing things differently, but mainly providing value, right? It's not about doing things for the SEO. It's about providing value for your prospects and customers. Great. What I want to do now is actually show you a bit about, how I think about the problem and what are things that, I recommend people to actually consider. So here's the thing. We do know that, the broken sales landscape, and Jacco and Anthony spoke about go-to-market misalignment. And we know that things that worked before need much more resources now. I want to show you a short clip. You probably are familiar with this, but.
Tell me what? Well, Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me 1 second. Hello? Switching over to TMI long distance service? Oh, gee, I can't talk right now. Why don't you give me your home number and I'll call you later? Oh, I guess you don't want people calling you at home. Well, now you know how I feel.
Well, that made me laugh, right? Because each one of us is actually doing those things to our customers, right? We've done those things for our customers. There's a part I wanted to share, but
Tell me what?
I'll switch on that. But basically, if I would ask you, how many of you like to speak with an SDR? How many of you like to get spam messages? Could be personal messages. Nobody will raise their hand, right? But yet, most of us, including myself, we've done it to our customers, and maybe some of us are still doing it with our customers. And I think things need to be changed. And the main reason, and I think both Jacco and Anthony spoke about it, is the buyer expectation have changed. They completely have changed. Jacco spoke about people that are getting actually spammed. We're getting 100 emails a day, and we're going to get 1,000 emails per day because there are new companies that are using AI to send us more and more and more email. Who wants to speak with a salesperson? Nobody really wants to speak with a salesperson, right? People want to get value, people understand, but there are challenges. People are much more skeptic, and in order for you or for us as a company to get to people to speak with people, because we want them to speak with us, we need to provide value. We need to do things different. Another thing is, think of the recent experience. Think of the moment you've met ChatGPT and you spoke with ChatGPT, right? I'm not using Google anymore. I'm getting these things from ChatGPT, Airbnb, Apple Vision Pro. If you haven't seen the movie, it's amazing. User expectation have changed, and yet we, as B2B companies, didn't do any much changes in our sales process. We are still forcing, people to speak with junior people, get a demo. We have to qualify you. We have to fill up forms, and I think things needs to be a bit differently. Things need to be actually completely different. And let me explain what I mean by that. So what I do suggest is that, I know each one of us is saying, yeah, we are a company, a customer-focused company, a customer-centric company, but yet I can guarantee that most of us, when we design our sales process, it's designed based on our needs, on our KPIs. The best example I can give you, we've decided that we're putting junior people to be the front, to speak with all the leads. Why? Because we don't want to, have those A that are getting a lot of money to waste their time and speaking with people that might not be qualified or not. That's not putting the customer in the center, the customer in the middle. And I think that we can try and see if we can change the way that we're doing our go-to-market in facilitating the buying. If we will provide the best buying experience, I think, we will win. It has to be personalized. It has to be smart. It's not about, hey, Jacco, your college basketball team just won a game yesterday. It's about providing you value and value and value. And I think one of the main reasons that we haven't done it before at scale because it wasn't cost effective and we didn't have the right technology and we had to put our best people at the front and we couldn't afford them. So we actually want to do things a bit differently. And let's imagine that every conversation, every lead, you don't know anything about the lead yet, but they get to speak with your best AE or best SE. Or maybe they actually get to speak with the founder and your CTO. That would be actually a win-win for everybody, right? The customer, the prospect will get the best people to speak with them. You as a company will be able to decide in 1 minute if that's a good lead for you or not and really navigate the sales journey or the buying journey for them. But it can't be scalable, right? You can't afford to put those people inside. But luckily, AI can actually change those things right now. And when I talk about AI, I really mean that AI can be a trusted advisor to buyers. It's not just using AI to automate. Sending 1,000 emails, that's easy for an AI. But does that provide value? I'm not sure. But if AI is actually going to be positioned as this is a trusted advisor, you can almost pick the founder's brain when you speak with them. That could be really interesting. And what's really interesting for us that are leading the go-to-market organization is that if done correctly, you need to coach it once because that's it. AI learns and continue to do that. It's not, people that are leaving your go-to-market team and you need to find new people and retain them. You can actually do it once and move forward. So what is sales speak? Think of sales speak as a sales brain that takes you 3 minutes or 5 minutes to train, and it knows everything about your company, your product, your technology, your vision, your roadmap, your competition, anything. And it can have a very intelligent discussion with your prospect with the goal of, again, providing them value and moving them into the buying journey. I'm not saying AI will replace your sales team or AI will replace your SDR team, but AI as the first contact or a point of contact can actually enable your prospect in 30 seconds, in 1 minute, really understand, do I want to spend my time with this company? But it can provide them with a lot of value. And the most important part, you as a company can control your own sales process. It's not ChatGPT tell me about this company, because in sales, it's not about just answering question. I'm sure Anthony will laugh about this, but if somebody would ask me why Tutango is better than Gainsight or vice versa, there are probably 5 different answers, and each one of them is correct. But it really depends, whether you saw this before, your experienced customer success executives, you're in a big company, in a small company. That's sales. So it's not about answering question. It's about identifying what the prospect needs, running a discovery, running qualification, and really guide them to the process. And if we do that correctly, and if you do that correctly, it's actually a win-win for both, right? It's easier for the prospect, it's easier for you, and the result that we're actually seeing is higher conversion rates, of course, happy customers, happy AEs. You wouldn't believe that AE is getting a summary from an AI tells them everything about the prospect, exactly identifying whether you know these concept needs to be discussed or not, and they can take the discussion from there. And also really important in this era, it's about the CFO because it's much more cost effective and it's much more easier to scale in terms of planning, on scalability, efficiency. That's clear. So the bottom line is, when you think about changing the experience, and I do think that in order to, again, mitigate the go-to-market fit loss, we need to change the experience, and the experience is in marketing, the experience in sales, the experience in every touch point with our customers. I think right now there's an opportunity that AI can do a lot of things that we were not able to do before, other than putting your CTO on every call every time. AI can actually mitigate those kinds of things. So that's, again, more or less what I wanted to actually share about Sales Peak. I'm going to stop here and first see, Anthony, Jacco, any questions or any comments, and then we'll see if the audience has any comments as well.
So, look, as I'm absorbing what both of you are saying, is like, and being myself in the same mode. What do we want? Why do we do all this? Why do we need to sell to more customers? Why does Anthony, in this case, want to have a bigger audience? Why does Omer want to have like a better sales experience? And why does Winning by Design loves to sell our consulting service? Right? Like, why do we all this? And okay, there's three things that are working in the market right now. These three things provide us insights in what needs to be done. Number one, mom and pop shops work. Mom and pop shops work. Why? Relatively small market, therefore personalization is almost instant. Right? Mom and pop shop, butcher on the corner of your neighborhood. As long as there's no other butcher on the corner, you got that neighborhood. Mom and pop shop works. Number two, vertical SaaS solutions. Markets that are super vertical oriented. We're dealing with a company. I'm very proud to be associated with a company called Snapt, SNAPPT. Fantastic group of ownership group and executive team. Love what they're doing, passionate about it in a very relatively small slice of a market that has a huge market. Works, vertical market works. And number three, forms of product-led growth work, where customers are going to buy the product, whether they are not being sold on the product. However that is customers buy the product, right? They want it. They hear about it. They want it. These three things have an ability to work. And if I look back and I say, like, hey, how do we facilitate the programs moving forward that these three things work? I think in generally what my problem is that historically has been at Winning by Design is if the moment in time that I take on, that we as Winning by Design would take on funding, my goal is no longer to help a customer to succeed. The moment I take on funding, my goal is to make more money for my investor. That's the challenge that many companies have. They put executives in place of a company that's venture funded, and therefore the goal no longer is focused. And as Omer, I took a screenshot of that picture with all the arrows in the middle, because that exactly is right. That dot is shifting to something which causes that I need more leads and more, suddenly need to talk to more people. Suddenly I need more salespeople to call on them. Suddenly I need to keep them. Why? Because that mindset, by the nature of it, is flawed. And that is causing ultimately the fundamental. All of us, everybody listening, everybody, all three of us, we would be much happier if we could just sell to 100 very successful customers and never have to worry about money again, so to speak, right? Like if we could do that and we just help these customers, it would be fantastic. And so we're trying to overcome that bridge, that gap of like, hey, essentially mom and pop shops, PLG motion in the vertical market works best. Now we want to address a mass market. Lots more people are needed, a lot more leads are needed, and creating that. And for that, we need money. And the moment time we get that money, we have a different goal to go after that no longer aligns with our customer goal. That's the problem this market is currently running into full steam. That maybe none of our products solves that, right? That's not the point I'm trying to say. But this is the mental model problem that we are having.
Yeah. I want, is there a philosophical shift you're seeing, Jacco, too, in the sense that, you know, one thing that I think all of us having some exposure in the customer success world is, or one thing as a marketer observing the customer success profession was a promise that actually, if we do deliver value for the customer, that results in business value creation too. And so I'm wondering if that is, if the spirit of that is now going from something that sounds really good, I guess, to something that becomes a business imperative all the way up and down the funnel, where, hey, if I actually build a brand in our own bias, build a brand that is almost as if a mom and pop shop in the sense that it's rooted in relationship. It has an exchange of value that may have something to do with our products. If not, like we want to be the household name or that kind of brand on the proverbial corner of your streets. But when you do have a problem, we want you to come to us, and that in so doing, there's a flywheel that can be developed through that exchange. But I know that some of this stuff takes time. And to your point, incentives are misaligned. You have a board meeting coming up. Like, how do we reconcile philosophy with action and accountability? It's tough.
It is I think it's very tough. And I think that, but this is if we don't understand the problem, we're not going to solve it. And as Ursula just asked a second ago on the channel, is like, hey, why don't personalized messages work? And in general, because my answer is because the intent behind that personalized message is wrong. And if the intent is I want to sell you something, if the intent of a doctor is to sell me more on some opioid, right, then I don't want to talk to the doctor. Yeah. But if the intent of the doctor is to get to know me and over the next 20 years help me become an athlete or whatever, make sure that my body is healthy, then I'm interested in talking it. If the intent behind the message is wrong, and most cases, the intent behind the message is wrong. Most cases.
I agree, but I think there's another aspect, which is I don't believe anymore, because I'm not getting one personalized message a day. I think I'm getting 50 a day. And each one of them, I really need to think, okay, is that, an automatic message that doesn't provide me any value, or is that something that is really important for me and I'm missing those things? And eventually, I'm flooded. And I see a future when we're going to stop reading emails and we're going to stop getting those phone calls. We're going to stop, if we haven't, I have, looking at those LinkedIn messages. They could be the best, messages in the world, really personalized for us, but we're simply not going to read it. So I think that's a challenge that, we need.
It absolutely is. And I can tell you where this starts to work. And John, Ursula, and Brad, we see your questions coming in. We're going to work them into the conversation. I sat next to a person on an airplane because I'm on a flight a day these days. And the person you're sitting next to, obviously when you fly out of San Francisco, on a Monday morning flight, there's a 70% chance that person is in SaaS of some sort, right? So but when you sit next to the person and, you talk about other things, and then you strike a conversation about SaaS, like I did with Steph the other day from one of the larger companies who went IPO last year. Like when you do that, that feels like it's a mom and pop shop experience, because you're walking the same street, not intending to walk on the same street. You casually meet each other. You have conversations about all the other topics. And then when you work in, it feels a natural response. I sincerely believe that the entire world is looking more for that. And for example, if I apply this to winning by design, is winning by design the only marketing, sales, and customer success consulting firm out there? Absolutely not. Are we the best choice? Probably, but I'm certain that there's 100 more. And I'm certain that if you live somewhere in Sao Paulo, that there's a local firm that gives you an equally great experience as we do, right? Like, there's no need for me necessarily to go be the number, right? Like, but why do I need to be that brand? Because my growth metrics and standards require that, right? And so, like, I'm like, wait, maybe we're chewing on way too big philosophically, as Anthony points that out. We still got to bridge that for our customers, but that comes from one of these solutions. That we know that mom and pop, vertical, and PLG leads the direction in the right way. I'm picking on a question, Omer. I see that Brad says, for Omer, can sales speak effectively replace or augment an SDR team without compromising lead quality or engagement death?
I think that's a great question. And you know, let me ask you, Brad, and let me ask each one of you. If you had to make a choice, you are going into a company, a website, or something like this, and you have two options. One option is you need to speak with an SDR that are really great, but a junior salesperson that really doesn't know everything about the product, the company, and so forth, with one goal, really. The goal is to run a bit of discovery and qualification. That's one option. And the other option is, you know, pick the brain of the founder, ask anything that you want, and move throughout the process. I can guarantee that most of the people actually choose the second option. So I do think, you know, sales speak, but even let's not speak about sales speak. AI, if done correctly, can definitely provide a much better experience for the buyer. So it's not about replacing and augmenting people. It's about job function. And if you, as a B2B company, designed a job function that their entire purpose is really provide zero value to the customer, but mainly just checkbox your sales process, then yes, I think it needs to be replaced. It needs to be done differently, put the customer in the middle, identify what's best for him. And if you think that the best thing for the customer is really putting SDRs in front of them, that's great. And I don't think AI should actually replace it. But if the customer is looking for something else, then I think it could be interesting to explore.
Omer, you mentioned picking the brain of the founder. There was a very timely thing that just came out yesterday. I'm not sure if you two or anyone listening saw it, where Mark Zuckerberg filmed a video responding to Apple. My mind exploded because, you know, in marketing, we're like, well, let's create a competitive battle sheet. Let's create a scorecard. And by the way, that's important. So I'm not diminishing like that work, but let's do a competitive landing page, and the list goes on and on. But instead, the founder took time, did a thoughtful analysis of the product, filmed a, I think, 2-minute video or something, authentic, real, and this is going to be the weirdest thing ever. Please don't quote me, and I'll deny I ever said this, but he felt like the mom and pop kind of guy because he was just like sharing from his heart. Hey, I think we're going to, like, this war is not over, I think is how he phrased it, or something along those lines around the platforms for AR. So something so compelling, I think, in that. Now, and if AI can help kind of scale or really kind of, you know, figure out a way to give everyone the resource that Mark probably had to put that video together, it's pretty compelling. But there's something really, I think, using that at least as one example of this future world.
Go ahead.
Let me build on that, and this is the reason why I find, Anthony, and I believe the reason why I believe what you're doing with Audience Plus, and what I believe, what both of you are doing at the same time, and what both of us, what all of us are subconsciously saying is, we love passion with expertise. Passion alone is Wednesday night entertainment, you know, like, so you think you can dance, but you can't dance, but we still laugh at you because you tried to dance, but it doesn't look good, right? That's passion, right? I think I'm a great dancer, but I'm not. But the passion and expertise, that's what we want, right? And definitely in a mom and pop shop, that often is put on display front and center, like Zuckerberg did yesterday. Now, I want to combine it with a third thing, which puts a really clear perspective in things for me. Is a product does it need to be sold, or is it bought? Now, what I find, most organizations are dealing with a marketing organization where marketing generates leads, and they say, oh, I'm generating leads so my salespeople can sell it. And the salespeople may stand up and go like, no, I'm helping the customer buy a solution. These are two very different mindsets. For example, a platform that needs to be bought, that the customer likes, but needs to be sold because of systems integration and stuff like that, AI, I don't know whether it has a very big role to play. You know, like, look, I saw yesterday, I was in Boston, and there was this, what is called big sign, modern doctor's office, glass window. You walk in and there's a round thing that you need to apparently need to stand on. And then, you know, like, you're being scanned, and that is just the modern AI of a doctor, right? Folks, I don't know about you, but I want my doctor to be assisted by AI. But I don't know whether I like AI selling me, talking to me, confiding in me. There's things I really like of AI that I really, but I don't know whether I'm in trouble whether I want to talk to a human or an AI system. Now, the future is to be proving that, right? I'm not saying that we can determine that. I am just, every time an AI kicks in, from the days that I hear, like push 3 for this number, right? I'm already irritated. I have been, if you hear me speak to these dial lines, so many times you hear me, can I please speak to a person, right? Yes, I can press 2, but I just want to talk to a person. I like to believe that in B2B, we're going to leverage education and we're going to have founder access to things that that Anthony is talking about, where the founder was sharing that and we were structuring that. But that human beings want to buy the product, learning from that audience, and then they want a human experience. Now,
so we're actually running out of time, but I'll make it short. I'm happy to challenge you because I think the truth is in the middle, and I think it depends on a couple of things. One, we see a lot of the young generation that simply do not want to speak with any human, definitely not a salesperson. They do want to speak with the CTO over there as well. Now, I'm not saying, can we run entire sales process without human being? I don't believe in that. I think humans are important, but I think we, as the business owner, we need to identify exactly where do we want the human to be, what value does human provide, and everything else that does not provide value to the prospects can actually, I think, be replaced by an AI and so forth.
Omar,
yeah.
that, and not and to interrupt you, that is only because you want to scale big, right? Because if you just want to sell to the people in your street, you don't need AI.
Yeah.
No, but this is my point. Like, my point is, we're doing all this because we want to be big. And the reason I say all this is because I don't know about you, but I believe that we're going to get more and more micro SaaS solutions in the market. And the vertical segments are going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. We're going away, like you can have, of course, you can buy Salesforce, or you can buy IDEX, which is Salesforce for veterinarians, right? Or you can buy Intap, which is Salesforce for lawyers, right? Like I'm seeing that this mindset of we want to be big and therefore we need to deploy all this essentially is going to come down to, can you sell to the people in your street? And can you make a living of that? Now, again, is this a philosophical point of view? Absolutely. But the three of us down here, each in our segment, are expected to be leaders. Now, I want to draw this one thing, and then I'll let you wrap up the call. But this is an important thing for me that opened my eyes once I uttered it. Okay, when I would have asked you, a year and a half ago, before ChatGPT comes out, that there would be a tool available one day, and it would be able to do what ChatGPT and everything that it can do today. If you ask 100 people, what would the average human being think it would be possible? Yes.
No. Yes. Okay.
Yes. They would expect it. Now, if you ask them, how long would it take? Like McKinsey, who came out with a report 6 months before that, or 3 months before ChatGPT, they will say 5 to 10 years. Okay. Now, if you go back and you look at sci-fi movies, you see the following. We are pretty reasonable at predicting the future. We can predict the future. If you go back, you'll see it's remarkable how good our sci-fi writers and capabilities and thought leaders are able to predict the future. We just suck at predicting the timing of it. We suck at that, right? And so what I believe, what is happening right now, is if we can predict what the future will look like 10 years from now, and we prepare that 18 months from now, that is more likely to be a reality than not, then we're probably closer to the truth than keep thinking we're 10 years out. That tells me that if we, thought leaders and, like whatever, ponderers that do nothing but ponder, like in a van along the coast, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Why do we want to be bigger? Why don't we want to be better? Because I can be better to my street. And then, and this is where I think, where I want to bring in Anthony with audience, when I create a great excitement in my street, then people come to me and say, want to buy from me. Like the movie, what is that movie? You Had Me at Hello, where, like Tom Cruise only has one client, but that client loves him so much that everybody else wants that, right? That experience.
Yeah.
Now, I can play a role in that. I see that. I don't want to deny it. I'm just going like, I think as we go on in time, we're going to love the village a lot more than we're going to love the city.
Let's build the villages then. That sounds exciting.
I love it. I really love the you know the excitement. Jacco, one thing that I'll take from this conversation is, you know, you said passion and expertise. I think that's great, and I think whatever we can do to embed those within our, I wouldn't even call it sales process, within our customer engagement process, where every time we engage with our customers or prospects or, you know, anybody else, it would be with passion and expertise. I think that will be win-win. I think people will be happier.
I think so too, and I think we founders are happier, right? Because and I encourage both of you, as you are at the start of your journey to start your new company, right? Is the mindset really we want to be a world dominating name, blah blah blah, right? And at Winning by Design, I'm doing the same thing. Do I really want to be? We just, you know, in India, in China, and all these regions, or do I just go like, folks, I am perfectly happy in my van on the coast. I'm perfectly happy helping my clients in my near area. And we are the ones who determine that where we want to do with that, right? And both of you have had tremendous success at previous companies. So I just, and with the great products that both of you are building, you know, like I think that there's ample room for that to grow in both the city or the village. You get to pick. Choose your adventure.
Anthony, I'd love to see a studio within Jacco's van. That would be,
Yes. Oh my gosh.
that would be cool.
That's a show right there. I love it.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. We really appreciate the time. Jack and Anthony, I really enjoyed this conversation. I'm sure we'll do more and more in the future. And happy Valentine's, everybody. Thank you.
Valentine's.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.